Welcome to Immigration Insider with your host, attorney John Nicelli. This podcast is an educational forum on how to deal with complex aspects of immigration and pitfalls to avoid. You can find this show on all the major platforms, including YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and on our website, johnnicelli.com. Now here's the host of Immigration Insider, attorney John Nicelli.
Hi, everyone. My name is John Nicelli. I'm an immigration attorney in New York City, and I have been practicing immigration law for close to 40 years now. So I wanted to speak today about some of the recent news reports after the election took place and Donald Trump has become the new president once he gets sworn in January. So basically, there's a lot of bad information going out right now. And there's a lot of information that's purposely being stated to scare everyone. So people that are in this country illegally are very, very frightened. Our phones have been ringing and ringing and ringing, people coming in. They're very scared. They're afraid people are going to come to their house and all kinds of crazy stories. So I want to pretty much set the record straight so people can be more relaxed at what's going on and not listen to all the news. It's very distractive and it's very unfortunate what's happening. So basically, right now, the Trump administration has constantly said that he's going to, all through the election, constantly said that he's going to have these mass deportations. Well, mass deportations sound good to his supporters, but unfortunately, mass deportations are not likely to take place. And the reason why is, one, the amount of money that's involved, and two, the amount of personnel are involved, and three, where are they going to find all the people? So when you put it all together, right now, from what I understand, each immigration agent in New York City, ICE agent, and those are the people that are, responsible for deporting people and detaining people and giving them bracelets, sometimes things like that. So there are approximately 8,000 cases assigned to each ICE person. So with that kind of a caseload, it's almost impossible one person to deal with 8,000 people that are on his docket in the system. It's extremely difficult. Okay, so in order to arrest people, there are ways of doing it and things that have worked in the past, but there's a lot of things that they're proposing that never worked in the past. So, for example, because of the amount of time involved, the amount of money involved, the amount of personnel involved, the detention space that would be needed, it's almost impossible to detain as many people as they believe they're going to detain. But unfortunately, people that are making all these statements have basically absolutely no expertise in immigration law. They think they know about immigration law, but they really don't. And they don't know that people have rights in the United States. You have appeals you can file, and there's many, many things. So I'm going to give you an example of what I predict is going to happen. So as far as people being arrested, the easiest people to arrest and for the ICE people to find would be those that have orders of removal, final orders of removal, which means that they've already been deported by an immigration judge, or perhaps they got stopped at the border and were what you call expeditiously removed. They left the United States and then came back under an order of removal. So those people, if they can find them, those are the easiest targets for ICE to concentrate on. And the reason why is because they have records of those people. They have their name, their dates of birth, their places of birth, and a lot of background information. They have their fingerprints, they have their pictures. So those are easier to find, especially if you have pictures. They can put it in a database where, or fingerprints, for example, they'll put it in a database and see what comes up. And one of the ways they find people is through social media. So if you're on Facebook, you use Twitter, you maybe have different email addresses. You work on the books somewhere where you're being paid by check and you have a social security number. those are people basically pretty easy to find. And they do find them. And those are the people that they will be primarily looking for, people with final orders of removal. The other people they're going to be looking for are those with criminal records. So if you have a criminal record in the United States and you have not yet been deported, your time is probably up now, because they probably will be coming to look for you if they can find you. One of the problems with immigration and finding people who have been deported is that once they're deported, they disappear. They move from where they live. They change their jobs. They move to a different state. They may have used a different name. There's many things people do, but obviously some get caught. So I expect that there will be a large number of people that will be arrested that have old orders of removal, or cases that the appeals are over with and there's basically nothing pending for them at all. They will more than likely be arrested. The problem is, once they're arrested, where do they put them? Right now, the detention space in the United States is pretty much at capacity, so it's very difficult to detain people. And that's the reason why people get stopped at the border, held a few days, maybe a month sometimes, and then get released because they need the detention space. Detention space costs a lot of money. Now, some of the proposals are that they're going to build these huge detention centers across the nation. I find that highly unlikely to really take place, but it remains to be seen. They want to use military bases. I doubt that's going to happen. And many crazy proposals that I don't think will ever take place. So one of the problems is detaining people where they can detain them. So let's say you have a final order of removal and you get arrested and you get detained. Now, maybe they came to your house and they arrested you, or maybe you were working and they arrested you, maybe you're in a car accident and the police referred you to ICE. So they have you. Now they detain you. Well, once you're detained, theoretically, immigration would have the right to just send you out of the country back to your country. But before they can do that, that takes time. First of all, do you have a passport? When a person is deported and removed from the United States, they have to get permission from the consulate of your country in the United States to give authority to immigration to send you back. That takes time. During the time period you're waiting and detained, it's costing money because they have to feed you, they have to house you. That costs a lot of money. So then what if they contact a lawyer like myself? Well, I review the case, and I'll give you a perfect example. Let's say a person was ordered removed in their absence. Many people that cross the border, sometimes they'll be issued orders of removal by an immigration judge or even by the Border Patrol, and they don't even know that they've been removed, because what happens is that you get stopped and they tell you, listen, I'm giving you these papers, we're going to release you today, but you have to appear in court at a later time. Many times they don't speak English, they don't understand what they're signing, they can't read what they were given. So all they know is that they're free, and that's all they really care about. But what happens is those cases are often referred to an immigration judge, and then if you don't show up, you're going to be ordered deported. So let's say you're one of those people, you came in 20 years ago, now you have a family here. You have a wife, you have American citizen children, you have a good job, perhaps you have your own business, you pay taxes in the United States. Let's say all positive equities. So now ICE comes and they arrest you. So now ICE's job is to send you out of the country, right? So they're going to detain you. But the first thing you want to do is call an immigration lawyer that's qualified to handle your case and has experience. So if in a case like that, the first thing I would do is do a motion to reopen that deportation hearing that took place wherever it was, or removal hearing, wherever it took place in the country. So I would ask the judge and I ask the prosecutors to join in what they call a motion to reopen. So I do a motion to reopen based on new evidence. And new evidence is that, you're here 20 years, you have a family here, you work, you pay taxes, perhaps your children are even in the military. Many factors. So you can do a motion to reopen. So that motion to reopen, while it's pending, you're detained. If the judge grants it, you get released. So now you're released, okay, after immigration spent all this money trying to find you, they find you, now you get released and you're going to apply for some benefit. All right, well, I don't know what the benefit may be. Maybe there's an error on the original documents they prepared and filed on your behalf with the court. Many times we find mistakes in those documents, allowing us to reopen the case. And if that happens, now you're released and you can apply for maybe cancellation of removal that you hear over 10 years. The notice to appear that the issue was defective or the order to show cause was defective, and therefore that would be grounds to reopen the case. All right, so now and then so many times you're going to be eligible to adjust status through certain programs, or you'll file for cancellation of removal, or perhaps a waiver, unlawful presence waiver. If you have the equities like a spouse or a parent who's a resident citizen, and someone's filing for you. So there's many, many things that you can do, and it's too lengthy for me to go into all the possible options. But my point was that you could be arrested, but that doesn't mean you're going to be deported. This is what the people that are making all these outlandish claims about rounding up people and arresting them, because they have no clue what they're talking about. No clue of what's involved, what the costs are involved, what the procedures are involved, and just about everything that's involved. So as I mentioned, detention space costs a lot of money. So if they want to open new detention centers, I have no idea where they're going to get the money. They're certainly not going to get it from taxpayers, because the taxpayers are infuriated at the amount of tax we already pay. So I don't believe that's happening. So let's say you have no history of immigration, okay, none whatsoever. And immigration comes and they find you and they make a factory raid. Well, now they got you. All right. Now it all depends on how long you're here. So they're going to put you in removal proceedings for you to see an immigration judge. So if they want to do this mass detention, I assume you'll be detained. Once you're detained, you have a right to have a hearing before an immigration judge, depending on the circumstance. But if you've never been arrested and you have no history with immigration whatsoever, then the chances are I'll get you released, because we'll file for a bond. Once the bond is issued by a judge, you will, or even immigration, the ICE people can even grant a bond, depending on the circumstances. They may say you have close family ties here. Maybe you have a handicap. Maybe you have a handicapped spouse or child. There's many, many factors that they consider when they do issue bonds. But if, say, ICE doesn't issue the bond, well, then a judge can issue a bond. So you have a right to a hearing. Let's say the bond is $50,000, but you can only afford $5,000. Well, if a bail bondsman can't help you, what do? You appeal the judge's decision. Maybe the Board of Immigration Appeals can hear your case, and they would lower the bond to something that's more affordable for you. So there are options there as well. And again, the same problem exists, is how long it's going to take, how long it's going to cost to detain you. Many times you do a bond appeals. It could take months before there's a final decision, all during which time you would sit in custody unless they release you. And many times people that are in custody are released. As I said, I don't know what's going to happen in the future. I can't say, because no one really knows what's going on. And it's really, really crazy. So one of the things I wanted to really quell the fears is that people that have absolutely nothing to do with immigration, have been just illegally here, have families, work here, and do whatever. Those are not the people they're looking for. And the reason why they're not looking for you is because they have absolutely no history. They have no idea where to find you. They can't walk up in the street, say, you look like a foreigner, so I'm going to arrest you. They did that years ago, and that was stopped. Okay. Another thing that was stopped, many times they're looking for a person. And years ago, they would go looking for that one person. They find out where they live, or they go to the house. And then they ask the other people in the house, what's your status here? Which they have no right to do. And then what happens is they used to arrest everybody in the household together with the person they were looking for. So that became very problematic. It was challenged in many, many courts, and they basically stopped doing that. Now, from what I understand, some of the news reports I've read, they claim they're going to start doing that all over again. I don't see it going anywhere. I believe it'll be challenged at the highest courts in every state in the United States, and I don't think that will work. As far as arresting the person that they're looking for, that will probably be fine, because the person probably has an old order of removal. Those people they will be looking for, because they are the easiest targets. As far as anything else, we really don't know exactly what's going to transpire. I can tell you from working so many years in the immigration field and under different presidents, whenever we have a conservative administration, there's always some outlandish things that take place. For example, during the Reagan administration, we had a mass deportation, basically the same thing that they're talking about now. And every night in those days, I used to represent people who were detained like the night before, 2 nights earlier. And they used to have a prison here locally in Brooklyn. It was an old Navy brig. Make a long story short, we would do bond hearings every day, maybe 70 in the morning, maybe 50 in the afternoon. Many, many, many cases. Okay, and most of the people had low bonds. At that time, they were like $2,000, $3,000. I don't think you'll get a bond that low today because of inflation, but you'll probably get a bond more reasonable, maybe $5,000 to $10,000. Because a bond for immigration is not supposed to be a harsh consequence of being arrested. It's supposed to be a reasonable consequence of being arrested. So it has to be a reasonable amount of money. That's generally how the case law goes. So that's another thing. If it happens, you can probably get released somehow, hopefully. And if you're not happy with the result, you can always appeal. And if the appeal is lost, you can always go to a higher court. In New York, it's the Second Court of Appeals and the Second Circuit Court of Appeals. New Jersey, the Third Circuit Court of Appeals. And if you don't win there, you can then go on to the Supreme Court if they take the case. So these procedures take months and months and months to take place. And it costs the government money because you're now being detained. The government's not interested in spending money, especially on a case that's not worth their money. It's not that you're like a terrorist that they really want to send you out of here. So if you're just an average working person, immigration is not looking for you, not likely to find you. And if they do find you, as I said, there's probably something we can do. Another problem that I foresee happening is that there's been a lot of proposals that they're going to have these massive cuts across federal government agencies, whether that's Elon Musk doing the cutting or advising where people should be cut. I mean, that's another issue in itself because he has absolutely no expertise whatsoever in dealing with government employees. He's never held a position of government in the United States government anyway. And where he's an authority to say, well, it should be cut here, this agency should be cut there. But let's assume that the worst happens and they decide they're going to start cutting different agencies. Well, I can only talk about the immigration agencies because I'm familiar with them in the courts. Well, if they do that, it would make no sense whatsoever. Why? Because it's only going to lead to further extensive delays. Right now, the courts are backlogged an average of 3 to 4 years to have hearings. Most courts in the United States. Okay, that's a problem. So now if your person is filing for benefits, say they came into a tourist visa and they're married to a U.S. citizen, or they're living overseas and the person you want to file for a brother or a sister or an aunt, an uncle, a mother or father, whatever it may be. Okay, so if you're filing for that person, if you say you're a U.S. citizen, you want to file for your parents, you want to file for, or your father or mother's a U.S. citizen and they want to file for their brother, which is your aunt or uncle or sister. Well, those procedures now take an average of 10 to 15 years. So if they cut the people that are working on those cases, those procedures, instead of taking 10 or 15 years, they'll probably take 20 or 30 years. So what are we accomplishing here? It doesn't make sense. Another issue that I recently read about even today is that the farmers in California, and many of the farmers are from conservative states, and a lot of the farmers, even though California is not a conservative state, but the farmers in California were very supportive of Trump, that he's going to clean up at mass deportations, whatever the nonsense is that he said, right? But the problem is that if they do that, which they did during the Reagan administration, okay, what happened? They couldn't get farm workers to pick the crops. So what happened? All the crops used to rot in the field. The tomatoes, the lettuce, and the fruits can't be picked, and it's craziness. So what happened during the Reagan administration in 1982, I believe it was, when policies like this went into effect? Well, Reagan won the election, right? He sounded good. He was going to be tough and do everything for the country and do this and get rid of all the illegal aliens. Okay, so they did an enforcement action. What happened? Okay, now we had no farm workers. So what did they do during the Reagan administration? They had an amnesty. An amnesty for who? For farm workers and other people as well. But for the farm workers, what happened? It was a total disaster because the fraud that was involved was incredible. Farmers were selling people letters. They're saying that they worked on their farms and they were getting $5, $6, $10,000 a piece. And now you have, I know that in particular, there was one farm in New Jersey. It was like 2 acres, and he did like 500 applications for farm workers. Okay, of course they got caught and the farmer got arrested, but nevertheless the fraud was unbelievable. So a program like that does not work. Didn't work in the past, not going to work in the future. You have to stop the fraud. And the way you stop fraud is you have people work here 10 years, pay taxes. There was a bill, the Kennedy-McCain bill, years ago. It was a perfect bill. You're here 10 years, you get temporary residence. After you pay taxes, another couple of years, then you become a permanent resident. That's the way it should be. And earned, it's not an amnesty. It would be an earned amnesty. You have to do something to show you're serious and that you deserve to stay here. That's what they need to do. The other problem we've had at the border, the reason why Biden lost the election, one of the reasons why is we've had this massive influx of illegals coming to the United States. Why are they coming to the United States? They want a better life. So what do? The smugglers tell them, just file for asylum. When you file for asylum, you get in the door. People don't even know what the word means, asylum. So what happens? They come in, file for asylum, and the Border Patrol either releases them or holds them and then eventually releases them. And then they have a hearing before an immigration judge. Those hearings are backlogged 2-3 years. So, and sometimes even more. So now the people are here 2-3 years before they even have a hearing. So what's happening now? Now they're canceling a lot of cases that are in court to do those cases first. They want to push them up as soon as possible. So many of them are being deported. And then what happens? They appeal. So now they're going to end up staying here like 5-6 years and contributing basically nothing to the United States because a lot of them don't want to pay tax. And a lot of them have no idea what asylum is. They don't even have a good claim. They don't even know what the word means. Okay, they know what the smugglers told them to say that, and that was their ticket in, and that's what's been happening. And it's an outrage. And there's a way of stopping this. It could have been stopped years ago. What happened was the Republicans and the Democrats had a bill. The Democrats actually had a bill that the Republicans refused to agree to. Absolutely refused. Why did they refuse? Because they knew we had a crisis at the border, and the worse they can make Biden look, the better. That way they win. And they did. They succeeded. Okay? So this is what part of the problem is. You want to stop the nonsense that's going on at the border with this asylum, you have to change the law, which Congress has refused to do. So it's both parties, Democrat and Republican. All they have to do, very simple. You want asylum, you file in the country you live in or the country you pass through. You pass through Mexico, you file in there. You don't file there, it's goodbye. You can't file here. That's the way it has to be done throughout the world. You file at the American consulate or embassy. If you can't file in your country because you're fearful of something, go to another country. But that doesn't mean you have to come here. We have American consulates and embassies throughout the world. You can go anywhere in the world to file at those consulates and embassies. Tell them I'm fearful of returning to my country for whatever the reason is. That's legitimate. They can have hearings via WebEx online with an asylum officer in the United States, and you can call from anywhere in the world on the internet, have your full hearing. If they make a determination that you should be granted asylum, you're granted asylum, the embassy gives you the papers, you get on the plane and you come here. But that's the way you stop the illegal aliens, the people coming illegally into the United States. You stop the smugglers from making billions of dollars, and they're just all laughing at us throughout the world. A total disaster. And that's what's been going on. So again, I say, please don't listen to all the rhetoric. Immigration is not looking for you if they have no record of you, but if they have a record of you, they will. Another thing I wanted to say is that if you have a court case that's pending and you have not had a hearing yet, immigration, the ICE people cannot touch you. They have to wait until your hearing has been held by an immigration judge. When the appeals are over with, if there are appeals, then they have a right to enforce the immigration action for an order of deportation and do whatever they have to do. But they're not going to come to your house if you have nothing pending. They're not coming to your house or your job if you have something pending with a court. The court has to make the final decision. So that's basically it. I just hope everybody will stay calm and just wait to see what happens, because I can guarantee the people that should be nervous are the ones with criminal records and the ones with old orders of removal. Those people for sure should be concerned. Others, highly unlikely. All right? So I don't really think anything would happen. That's it for today. Nice to speak to everyone, and I hope I calm some people down. Thank you.
You've been tuning into Immigration Insider with your host, attorney John Nicelli. You can find this show on all the major platforms, including YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and on our website, johnnicelli.com. Thank you for your positive reviews, comments, questions, and for sharing this show with others.